Simone. I was told that this would be a total of 45 minutes. So could you count me down? I want to break it into two sections, 30 minutes, and then 15 at the end for more hands-on portion. And so to end the first section, please give me a green at the 20-minute mark, and yellow at the 25, and red at 30. And then for the last bit, it would be the last at 10 minutes, 13 minutes, and 15 minutes.
10, 13, and 15.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for having me here. I am so happy to see so many visitors because they will be able to perhaps understand what it's like to be nervous up in front of a crowd of people. And that's how I feel tonight, which is unusual because I'm usually very, very boisterous and ready to go. But as I said a bit earlier, this is a bit of a learning experience for me too. I have done this workshop once before, but this is only the second time. And it's a bit of a stretch for me. So I would like to have a quick reminder of how many members or people here are actual members of this club. Okay, that's excellent. And for the rest of you, I understand that some of you have actually professional reasons for wanting to learn how to speak. That's great. And for you too, I believe. You're the lawyer, right? Yes. And you sounded like you're a little nervous. Okay. And I don't recall, what is a major reason that you would like to practice public speaking?
Just more confidence in speaking.
Okay, okay. Well, I am going to take us on a journey of the imagination. And luckily we have one person who's in the construction business because I have called this speech, Build the Speech of Your Dreams, because I'm going to use the approach of creating a speech with building a house. Now, the thing I found when I started out working on this workshop was that there are so many different ways you can do a speech. But when you come down to it, there are certain parts that are very common to all speeches. And I will get into them in a few minutes. But there are also approaches to writing a speech that I think help make it easier to come up with a solution that does best for you. All of these things will take some practice because there is no black and white with speeches. Each time you do it will probably be a little different. And certainly, each time you have an audience, the audience will be a little different. And the best speeches have a rapport between the speaker and the audience. So I'm hoping that tonight we will all have a really good time and enjoy the experience of going to this place I'm calling the Field of Dreams. Now, do any of you have a house? Do any of you want a house? Have you ever been shopping for a house? Well, I have been wandering the neighborhoods of Toronto, getting my steps in and so forth. And since a kid, I've enjoyed watching the construction people building things. And as I was walking around and noticing how the condo towers went really, really deep, and then eventually you saw them go higher and higher, I thought, those are fascinating. That's a lot of places for people to live. But, you know, that is not really a place I would like to live. In my neighborhood, there's an older set of houses that are now being gradually torn down, and people put up new ones in the same place, more modern, usually fancier, and often bigger than they were before. And that inspired me to say, how can I compare a building of a house like that, 2 or 3 stories high, with a speech? And I think I've come to it. But before I get into all of that, which will make up most of the second part of my presentation, I want to think about the setup and the setting of this house, which in my analogy is the period that you use before you actually sit down and try to put together your speech. What you want to do is think about the audience, the location, and the situation you're going to be in. Because what you want to do is, to the best of your ability, to figure out how you're going to communicate your words and have them go into the brains of your audience. So I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers. They could be members or non-members, doesn't matter. So could I have 3 people who are willing to give me a simple idea about a speech that you either would like to do or have done? And I will have Alan write down the points that I got. Yeah, so thank you. And we'll use this in a little while. So I will begin. This is like a mini table topics. I will ask each person, each volunteer, to give their name, give their involvement with Toastmasters, whether you're a guest or a member, and give us an idea of a speech that you would either have done or want to do. So I will start as an example. I'm David, and I have been a Toastmaster for almost 10 years now. And I am working on an advanced speech for my club that is about enhanced coaching, which is something that we're working on for our club, how to coach new members into how Toastmasters is done. And it will be 10 to 12 minutes long, which is quite a bit longer than the typical Toastmaster speech. So that is the first example. And I would like to have a volunteer, or as we do in Toastmasters, I may have to ask to voluntarily to volunteer. So anybody, please? Okay, and I forget your name.
I'm Kate.
Hi, Kate.
I'm a member of the club. I think I've been a member for a year maybe now, or a little less. And I have done my icebreaker speech, which for those who don't know Toastmasters, it's like your first speech. So I've done that, but now I need to do the next one. And I found that icebreaker easier because it's just you introducing yourself. But the second one is completely open-ended, any topic you want, like 5 to 7 minutes. And so I've been stuck on that one for a while now.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And that one is titled A Speech with Purpose.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much. And so have you got Kate down?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to take the 2 of you as a pair. Do you have something that one or both of you would like to talk about as part of your business when you want to talk to your clients, like maybe what your services are?
I'm sure that's okay. We'd like to be able to speak to the importance of visual storytelling for corporate brands, for their audiences and customers.
Okay. And have you done any of this yet?
We have, yeah.
And how do you think it's gone?
Well, I mean, we've done the actual storytelling and visual storytelling. We haven't put together how to communicate that it's important.
Okay, all right. So that's Emma and visual storytelling.
Okay.
And somebody on this side. All right.
My name's Carolyn. I've been a member of Toastmasters since December. I've given my icebreaker speech, which was easier, as Kate said. It's all about me. I wanted to carry on that theme. My theme was about education, being asked still more educated. I wanted to carry on with the education theme and give a speech on the importance of education and how my son has indirectly taught me the value of education through his actions.
Well, that's fascinating. Looking forward to it. All right, thank you. And you got that?
Yes, I got that.
Super. Now, I was not aware that there would be so many people who were visitors here tonight. So what I'm going to do is take a bit of a diversion and explain how Toastmasters goes about teaching, speech making, and so forth. Toastmasters is known for helping people do public speeches. But there are other aspects to Toastmasters, including a leadership approach, which is how do you manage people so that they work together. And to do that, you need to communicate with them well. With the current program at Toastmasters, they call it Pathways. And that means that you begin at one place with everybody else, or not at the same time, but everybody starts with doing what's called an icebreaker. And this is a relatively short speech that goes 4 to 6 minutes longer, ideally. And it's supposed to be mostly about some aspect of the speaker. You know, where they came from, what their family was like, what their career ambitions are. Not all in one speech, but any of these topics would do. And then you go through several more speeches, 5 to 6, depending on the time you join, to get a little more demanding or a little more complicated. But each of these speech approaches is an easy step forward. It's very much done according to your idea of when you're ready to move on to the next one. And so the second speech is simply called Speech with Purpose. And it's simply trying to explain to you how to put together the organization of a speech, you know, a beginning and a middle and an end in simple terms. And to come up with some reason for doing the speech. Now, this puzzled me for the longest time because I thought purpose is a grand scheme of things. But in fact, I've come to realize that the purpose might be simply, I want to make people laugh. I want to tell this story about something that happened to me when I was a kid, and I've always been haunted by it, but I want to tell people about it. Or I want to talk about what I think is wrong with the world and what I would do to make it right. Something like that. The next speech would be a little more complicated. As I introduced there, I put in a little extra vocal verb. And one of the speech projects is to practice how to use your vocal variety in your gestures, which are important when you're doing a public speech, as opposed to a conversation, and so forth. So there's level 1, which I think every single person here could do within a few months if they were interested in pursuing it. And then there's a level 2, which is a little more complicated, and 3, 4, and 5. That takes you all the way through a path. The higher ones, 3, 4, and 5, are not just speeches, but also projects, so that you might be asked to organize social event for the club, or you might do something for the place you work. which is you might have a lunch and learn program where you explain how to do something during the off hours of your coworkers. Something like that. It involves more than just speaking. It involves managing people or organizing yourself or planning something in advance. And this goes a little higher, a little more complicated, up to level 5. When you get to level 5, you have done what is called a path. And currently there are 6 different choices of paths. And they're all a little bit different, but that's more than I'm going to get into tonight. Because what I'm really working on is how to create a speech. And that is where I want to deviate from the idea of sitting down with a computer or a piece of paper right away and writing away. I want you to think about this vacant field that I have imagined where there is room for a house. And imagine that you've gone there and you see how much space there is. You see how big the other buildings are around. You think about what would I put there if I had all the money in the world, if I won a big lottery, and I liked the idea of having a house, what would I do with that space? Well, this is what I'm saying is equivalent to your earliest ideas of creating a speech. What would I do if I had a chance to talk with a buyer who had a very big budget and who was interested in the kind of work that I do or the kind of products I produce? What if I was feeling like I was an entertainer at heart? I'm very shy, but so are many other entertainers. What would I do if I had a chance to talk to a small group of people and see if they would be laughing? Like, for instance, a party amongst your coworkers who don't know you. Things like that. Now that is on the borderline of being a public speech, but it is in a way, because you are talking not just with one person, you're talking with more than one person, and they're not necessarily people that you know about. So this is one of the things that I think is important to do before you actually sit down and write a speech. So first of all, you need to figure out, do you have enough time to get your message across? In Toastmasters, most speeches are between 5 and 7 minutes long. And this is a really good time because most people can attend to it all that time. I gotta tell you, Toastmasters audiences are excellent. They listen, they're polite, and they are willing to accept all sorts of things that might go wrong. If you have visuals and the equipment doesn't work right, then people will understand because they've been through it too. Or they might be doing it and they imagine what it would be like to be stuck up there trying to make the equipment work. They love all sorts of topics, and people in the Toronto clubs especially come from all sorts of backgrounds. And so you get a wide range of people that can listen to you. And when you listen to them, you get to figure out how they have done speeches as well. So this is something that I encourage everybody to do, is to think first, what do I want to do? And second, what can I get done in a speech space of time that you've got, 5 to 7 minutes on the whole. And finally, do you want to be really complicated or simple? Like tonight, I must say I wasn't really prepared enough. I haven't taken my own advice. I was not prepared enough to understand what the interests of this group would be. And therefore, I am going to be working on it as we go along. But you can do that in the middle of a speech if you need. It's even better if you can get to join a club and get to know what the other club members are like. It makes it easier to move along, and it gives you a better chance to be able to write speeches for this group that give you a chance to try out different techniques which you can use for something like a client meeting or an education situation. We've had lots of teachers, much to my surprise, who have come to Toastmasters to brush up on their ability to talk with, say, a higher grade of student than they're used to. They get to practice how they talk in a different forum. So I'm going to pause here for a minute. Does anybody have any questions? Am I kind of on track with
20 minutes.
20 minutes? Excellent. Great. Now, this next part is about the structure of a speech. And here again, I'm getting back to my analogy of building a speech of your dreams. And it's pretty well known that the opening of a speech is usually the part that you want to really grab people's attention right from the start if you can. But how do you do that? Can you perhaps give me an example of something that you have tried that has worked really well?
Humor.
Humor, excellent. Humor is a really good way to start a speech. Any other ideas?
Question.
Question, very good, yes. And then when you ask a question, how do you use the information? For instance, I asked how many people of you here are Leafs fans? I was like, you would get an idea of what way to present to the audience, or if let's see, what's another idea? I'll give you a demonstration of one that sometimes works if you use it right. Sometimes silence is a great way to grab attention because people say, "Who are they supposed to be speaking?" If you ever watch stand-up comedy, Jim Gaffigan is great at this. He comes out and he starts talking to himself in little funny voices, and then he mimics the audience. It is not listening. Why is he doing that? And then audience participation. Did anybody have a chance to go to the District 60 conference this past weekend? You did. And did you see the contest with the international speech contest?
Yep.
What can you tell me about the winner?
Very personal and vulnerable speech that had a large emotional impact. I really enjoyed.
Wasn't he the one who did "It's spawning with a water spout"? He got the entire crowd of almost 100 people to do this little kid song at the very beginning. And then he told his story, which, as you said, was very personal. And so that's participation. Can you get your audience to stand up? I did one not long ago where I got everybody at the end of a long work day to get up. And we did a bunch of little exercises right at the beginning, which they weren't expecting. So this is the kind of thing that you want to think about as a possible way to begin your speech. Now, the next part of the speech always has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is pretty self-evident. But I find that you don't necessarily write it that way, because what often happens in that case is you start off great, and then you talk about a bunch of stuff. And at the end, you sort of like fritter away. You've lost your chance to give a final demanding message. So you would possibly start a speech and work a while, I would say usually on your computer. Although, does anybody do speeches by hand? You do? Excellent. And do you do a lot of scribbling too? Yes, that's why I like typewriters, you know, or word processors. So work hard at getting the opening strong so that you yourself feel confident that you're getting the message across quickly. Some estimates say you should get the opening message out within 30 seconds or up to a minute. And then after you start that, just put in some point forms about the next main points you want, and skip down to the bottom and come up with the conclusion, the message you want to send home with the audience at the end. And that way, you will not lose the opportunity to ask them to buy your product or listen to the point of view that you are giving. Tell them something you're willing to do for them, an offer. These are all things that are the purpose of the speech. And so that's why I say work on the beginning, grab their attention as quickly as you can, using as many varieties as you can over time, because you will want to do many speeches over time. Make sure you have a good ending so that when they're done, they have something memorable in their mind. And thirdly, then go to the heart, the main part of the speech. Now, in my building analogy, it's like the opening is like the main floor, the bottom of the basement, and the main entrance to the speech. It's an entryway to the message you're giving. The ending is like the roof. It's the crowning glory of your speech. And it's also the part that sort of gives you something to aim at. In the middle portion of the speech, which is the longest part by far, is the part where you put together an organized set of thoughts that bind together the opening and the ending. That, I hope, makes sense. And then the way that you do that middle part is like a building too. You can do it a lot of different ways. One common way is to have a three-part message. So, for instance, if you were talking about your career, you might have a part that starts about the job you had before the one you have now. The second part would be the job you are doing now and why you either like it or you don't. And the third part might be about what you hope to do or you might fear about in the future. So that's a three-part kind of structure, which is very, very common. And it's very useful. So this is often referred to as the rule of threes. Another thing, if you're talking about yourself or something, an event that has happened, there's the chronological order. If you're talking about yourself, you might start when you're a child, something that happened with your mother or your father or your kid, sister or brother. And then go through the points. You're talking about, I had the most fascinating experience when I was only 2 years old. And I didn't know at all, excepting that all my family told me it was fascinating. And it took me years to figure out why they thought that way. And then you would go through At age 10, you ask again, age 12, and so forth. And at the very end, you say, and now I finally figured out why my mom thought it was so fascinating, and I got it from my aunt who told me about it. And explain why this has been so important to you. Another style would be the ask and answer. You ask a question at the beginning of your speech, such as, did you know that the number of people who do not have a credit card is going up? I found that amazing because I thought everybody had a credit card. But no, I'll tell you why that's not the case anymore. And then you would go through, and the importance, and this is why I say, remember to start your planning with the ending, is what is the message at the ending? And you would say at the ending, well, since the advent of the smartphone, more and more people have put away the plastic and carry only their phone, and they use Apple Pay and Google Pay, and that's why fewer and fewer people have credit cards than they had before. So that's an ask and answer approach. And one last one would be a circular approach, which is you tell a story, a funny story at the beginning, and then you explain how it all came about, and then at the end you go back to the beginning with a special twist for how the whole thing began. So those are common structures, and I suggest that if you are interested in public speaking, you try them all over time. And now I've had my first part, and it's time for me to move on to my hands-on part. Now, may I have that piece of paper again? Sir. Thank you very much. So, Kate, could you come on up and join me?
Sure.
Okay, Kate. So you explained very well that you have done your icebreaker speech, and I was appreciative that you explained what that icebreaker speech was. And now that you're feeling a little stuck with the next speech, and have you actually spent much time sort of contemplating it yet?
I've spent a lot of time contemplating it, but haven't actually written anything.
My gosh.
Yeah.
What do you think is the sticking point?
For me, the topic, which, again, if it's for work, that's not an issue, but for like a Toastmasters speech where I'm not presenting on like a specific thing to a specific group on a specific topic and it's just open-ended, I find it really hard because I guess I feel like I don't know enough about one particular thing, or I'm overly concerned, like, would it be interesting to the audience? Because Toastmasters is like a broad audience. So I think I get really hung up on the topic selection and feeling like I don't know enough to present something, or will it be interesting enough, or is it an experience that happened too long ago? So I think it's the topic I find really tough.
It's a common issue, is how to figure out a topic when there isn't one sort of dictated to you. And therefore, I suggest that there are 2 or 3 ways about it. One of them is to sort of put a bunch of different topics on slips of paper and mix them up like you have for a deck of cards. And you don't have to pick any one of them, but pull one out and see what can you do with that topic. But the most important part is stop long enough to actually think about it. So I would like to ask, I've forgotten your name? Tisha. Tisha. Give us a topic that you would like to hear about.
One of the things I've really been thinking about is to be more present, so to stay off my phone and to just be in the moment. So I think those are kind of things that I would be interested about hearing, ways to do that and accomplish that.
I see shaking heads. I see more than one person. Would you feel comfortable writing about that?
I think it's my perfectionism. I feel like I'm not an expert, but I could definitely relate and talk about like things I've done. Like my phone is like black and white right now if you looked at it, because I'm trying to like stop the addiction. So I can definitely relate, but I feel like I would have to do a lot of research to feel like knowledgeable enough about other.
Why would you need to do research in that case?
I think this is probably like a presenting fear, but like if there was someone like from the tech world in the audience and I like misspoke or missed some points, I think that's a concern.
Does anybody have a suggestion about how to get past that particular hurdle? Kelly? Okay, Emma?
Yeah, but speaking just from your own personal experience rather than citing specific facts or, reasoning, like just speak by your own experience and how it's affected you.
Good advice.
It is, and it's a really good way to get around that issue, especially if you're talking Toastmasters. You can do practically anything you want, excepting at Toastmasters, we don't like people who get into religion, politics, or heavy-duty sex. So, but you can concentrate on you yourself in a sense. I feel like I spend too much time on my phone. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you say, I don't understand. What is this thing about being too much on your phone? I mean, just, I don't think there's enough time in the day to be on the phone. I want to be on this phone because it's so fascinating. You can make a joke out of it, So the thing is, try it out in your head, and I sense that you have been working on it for a while. But once you get past that, say, what can I actually say in the 5 to 7 minutes that you have? And also go have a little chat with your other club members. Say, I'm kind of working on this idea, but I don't know, does this make sense? Am I being too far out of date with the times, or am I too unusual? If you are unusual, that makes a great speech. If you are like everybody else, that makes a great speech. So work on it from that point of view. Relax, and then pick one of those structures that I talked about. So it could be a two-part approach, which is one that I didn't mention, and that is you can use contrast speech form, where you say, this is the problem. Here, boom, boom, boom. And then here is the solution. Boom, boom, boom. So you can work on that. And the solution might be, there's no solution. So anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Emma, come on up. It could be the both of you if you like.
It's up to them.
Okay, so you'd like to basically explain your business to possible customers?
Yes.
Okay, so have you been working on this so far, up to this point?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, and where are you moving along with it, or do you feel stuck, or?
It's not thought of enough yet.
Okay, what are the important parts that you want? This is the part where I'm saying, what is the ideal situation? What is it that you hope to do? Get your name known, get a contract, get to know people who know people? What is it that you hope to get out of your first speech?
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay, that's a tall order. So, do you know what kind of audience you're going to have? Is it going to be a one-on-one, or is it going to be a one-to-many?
That's been my biggest issue, is not knowing my target audience.
Okay, all right. So what kind of situations are you in typically as part of your business so far?
So I've operated solos for 10 years as an artist, and now we've been combining our business, or combining together as a business.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly has a background in sales and marketing. we're focusing on like documentary film and video content for like businesses. Where I'm struggling is I'm more in an artist mentality for the past 10 years, so I've been kind of just letting the work speak for itself, working off the referrals, and now I'm trying to build like a structured business, and I don't feel like I have an analytical mind. So I'm
But
struggling.
Kelly does.
But Kelly does, yeah.
Okay. And so when you're, let's go back a step. And what is it that you hope to do in the shortest term? Are you trying to generate revenue right away, or is that something that can wait until you establish yourself a bit more?
I think get clear on the messages behind what we're trying to do.
Okay. And let's just imagine one person. This is a fictitious person, but would you like it to be a man or a woman? Okay, let's make it a woman. And let's say that she is very, very busy today, but she has graciously allowed you to come in with Kelly and sit down in front of her very busy desk and talk to her. And she's given you 5 minutes. Okay? Now, what can you possibly do in 5 minutes? This is what's called an elevator pitch. As you probably have heard, an elevator pitch is a very quick statement of what you are doing in the time it would take to get from the bottom floor to the penthouse, or something like that. So you've been thinking about this already somewhat. Tell me, what is the thing that you want to get across in less than 5 minutes?
That it's important to build a connection with your potential customers through storytelling and emotional content.
Visual.
Visual, yes.
Visual. Okay, and why do you think that this person doesn't know that?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so the idea is to say, I have something that I think will help you. That is a grabby way of doing it. They might not believe you, but they might admire your chutzpah for saying that, okay? So you say, and ultimately you want to have, in any of these type of speeches, you say, what's in it for me? What's in it for the listener? Not what is it for the speaker, but always remember to say, what will help them? I see you're busy here, and that's good because obviously you have a lot of business to work with. I think that, as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And what you can do is use my services to help get your message across to your clients as quickly as possible without spending a lot of your time. So if we do our brochures with my approach, you will be getting people that are interested in your product, your service, much more quickly. And I can demonstrate that because we have been working with a small group of clients who have found this to be highly, highly effective in their business themselves. So I'm almost out of time. Thank you for your patience. And if you would like, I can leave you a little brochure that explains, using our technique, what we can do for you. Would that work?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have any questions that go beyond what I've just dealt with? Okay. How about you, Kelly? And when you do marketing, how do you go about it?
Ask lots of questions.
That's a good approach too. But at a different stage. When you're trying to actually promote yourself, I think you need to get out there and say what it is you're about. But ask the questions first so that you know you're in the right direction. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Caroline. Yes, and you also have done your icebreaker,
Yes, I have.
and you joined last December. And explain again to me how the indirect education concept.
My son is educated. He has an engineering degree and a software computer degree. When he was going through his engineering degree, he decided he wanted to take his learning, systems, physics, math, and get his pilot's license from Transport Canada. And for me, as a mother, that was a bit of a shock. And I realized that I was actually happy as a mother, because he was taking his learnings and applying it to something he enjoyed and wanted to pursue, not directly related to education. And it was nice to see him applying his learning that way, in a way that gave him so much joy, confidence and flight. It was an incredible thing. And I just had to realize my own bias is sort of a return on investment. Doing that, it made me realize, he may look like me, but he's not me. And I, as his mother, just have to be a cheering section and support him.
Okay. Well, this really touched my heart. I don't actually know why, but I'm also a parent. And the thing is, this is something that sort of falls into the category of, if you like a question, like is, how would you do if you spent X number of dollars on somebody's education and then they throw it away to go flying, you know? And then that would be the opening, but the conclusion would be exactly what you said at the end. I know he's not me, and he is himself, but I am so happy that he's learned how to use his education to do something that brings him joy. And in the middle part, you could use one of those chronological things, which could be, when I can remember when he was just little and he was doing, playing at this or that. And then when he went to school, he did so well in certain subjects that he needed to do well in school, and so forth. And then conclude your speech with your revelation and your message. It all worked out, So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that brings us to the end of the workshop. I hope it's been hands-on enough. Hands-off. I was thinking every time you mentioned about hands-on that I should have had everybody bring their laptop and type it away. But thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy it.
David, I'd like to, just for the time and effort to come, I'd like to present you with gifts from our club, a Toastmasters International notebook.
Okay, excellent. I love this type of thing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope that you're ductile enough to have absorbed all that information. That was quite eye-opening even for myself. I've been with Toastmasters since 2014, but I learned quite a bit from those techniques about how to, start with the good opening, go to the message of what you want to tell your audience, and then work on the content in the middle. I think that's that's an amazing, that's amazing tip that I can use like right away. So the rest, before we present the best table topics of the night, we just want to have a few minutes for any kind of questions and answers that you may have. So both members and guests could you know, come up with any questions about Toastmasters or the session. Now's the time to bring it up. Is there anything that anything about pathways, anything that you was eye-opening in this session? Yes, Roxy.
And Dave had mentioned that there's 5 levels of speeches and then there's pathways. Is there something online that we can find more information on, or?
If you go to the toastmasters.org, that's the Toastmasters International website, you will find some background information about the pathways. Yeah, so there's 6 pathways right now. There used to be more, but they decided to consolidate into these 6 pathways, and each pathway has about 5 levels in it, and each level has about 4 projects, right, David? Yeah.
Depends,
Yeah.
the first one has 5, the second one has 3, and the third has 3.
Okay.
And so forth, so it's something like that, but the higher levels, there are fewer of them, but they're more difficult.
Yeah. And some examples of pathways, there's like a humorous pathway, there's like I think there's a leadership pathway. I'm in one of the innovative planning, but they've kind of morphed that into something else now. I'm not sure what they call it now, but I'm on the cusp of finishing that one. I have one more project to do, which I got stuck on. But thanks, I think David, you will help me with the getting through that that hurdle. Any other questions? Yes.
This is a workshop, but what is a regular Toastmasters session look like?
So regular Toastmasters session, well, it's the same as what you just saw up until the table topics. But then after table topics, there's typically a Toastmaster speech, which is a 2-minute speech, which is dedicated to a theme of the meeting. So today the theme was workshop. So if there was a Toastmaster, the Toastmaster would be basically talking about their thoughts on workshops. And then that Toastmaster would then introduce the speeches of the day. So if a member had signed up for a pathway speech or a non-pathway speech and was going to present it, the Toastmaster presents that. And then after the speaking portion, there would be a short break, usually 5 to 10 minutes, and then there'd be a humorist right after the break, and the humorist just has breaks the ice with something, a few jokes, and then the general evaluator leads the evaluation portion of the meeting, and they would introduce there's a dedicated evaluator for each speech, and the evaluator would talk for about up to 3 minutes to evaluate what they liked about the speech, any points to improve upon for the speaker, and what they basically it's like a mini speech, but talking about someone else's speech, right? And then after that, you have a quiz leader. The quiz leader throughout the entire meeting is making up some questions to test people's listening skills, and they would ask, okay, what did Fred say about gardening, right? And then anyone can answer that. And then there would be guest comments, and then there would be awards such as best table topic. So that's the typical format for Toastmasters meeting. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
So I have a question.
Yes, Susan.
this is regarding the workshop, right? So, if you were to give a speech and in the middle of your speech you lose your train of thought, what would be your recommendation for a recovery?
Ooh, that's a good one. And it happens to me less than it used to. But one thing is to keep a safety net nearby, which is you want to try and do your speech without referring to notes. But if you have a fear that you're going to forget something, then you can either keep the full speech, which is not very handy, or little reminder notes near you. Now, if you're doing something really long and complicated, then you might want to put your reminders in different places so that it's not too obvious. That you can put one, say, there, and then just go over and check when you have that problem. But you might not need to do that. Just actually having it there will probably relax you, and you're not as likely to actually forget it, because it's just a nervous situation that's going on in your brain. And so you could simply just relax when you're taking a deep breath. Just say smile, and say, if you need to, you just say just a moment while I remember something, and then go ahead. Because especially at Toastmasters, everybody's very forgiving. And you can go through this kind of thing many, many times until it doesn't happen to you anymore. It will go away. And then if you need to go out into the world, you will practice enough so that it's no longer a concern.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was well said. That's happened to me as well. So I've done that, and you just use that moment of silence and just to recover your thoughts. It's usually just a few seconds, right? And then usually it's like once you relax, then it just comes back.
I have a really good question. How do you memorize your speeches? Or do you?
I have a horrible time memorizing speeches or anything else like music lyrics or pieces of music. So I write a speech, I try to remember it, and I will remember parts of it, but there's no way I'm going to remember it all. So I get very confident about my ability to change direction as I go along. I know generally what I want to do, and I usually practice certain key phrases a few times so that those at least I've got. If I have a direct quote that I really want to get right, then that I usually write down or read it so that I don't worry about it the whole time. I just know it's there. I have it on the podium, and then just read the famous quote exactly right. So try just take the load off of what you have to try to remember.
For me personally, I've yet to 100% memorize a speech, but I get to like the 90% point. I have the speech on paper, but I have the certain key words and memory triggers highlighted, so I just glance at it and then I talk about it. And if I get stuck, then I kind of look at it again just to get my thoughts flowing again. So I haven't memorized yet, so except maybe my icebreaker, that's it. That's easy to do.
I think there are previous workshops that are memorizing things. You usually probably don't want to have the whole thing memorized word for word, because then it can just kind of come off a bit rote, and you're not being able to adjust to the audience and things like that. And how do you keep this?
I would say one thing that I have come to realize is that every audience is different, and I'm always trying to play off the audience. So if I see somebody who's nodding their head, that's a good sign usually. If they're sort of looking at their phone, that's not. And I adjust how I do things as I go along. and that would kind of send me off on a different route. And the downside is I don't do the speech as I originally intended, but the upside is if I manage to connect with the audience I actually have, it works out much better than if I try to present an ideal speech to an ideal audience that is not there.
Okay,
I'm curious, will training and presenting speeches help you with impromptu speaking? Is that
definitely. Taking a lot of, doing speeches, taking a lot of roles, help me do impromptu speaking. For example, I'm doing impromptu speaking right now. I didn't plan for it, but the table topics I think was the best. That one really challenges me personally, but I think it challenges a lot of people, and I think it's the most fun because you never know what you're going to get, right? David, any comments or?
No, I think that's it.
Carolyn, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so Carolyn will present the best table topic speaker of the night.
So, it was a pleasure and a privilege to have this table topic speaker here tonight. Dave, you are the winner of table topics. Thank you so much for your comments, and thank you so much for your education tonight for all of us. It was very helpful.
Okay, so we have just a couple minutes left, but we'd like to end with just to go around our guests and what you got from this session, and if there's anything that you think we can did well or not so well. Maybe starting from this side, and Kelly and Emma.
Sure, yeah, so as a first timer to Toastmasters, I would say this seems like a great place to work on your ability to speak in conversations, but also gather your thoughts in a way that are presentable and make it easier to kind of get your message across to an audience. So first time, definitely not the last. So thank you all.
Yeah, I haven't been in a setting like this in a long time, so I'm definitely like super uncomfortable having to speak with people I don't know. But I feel like this is great exposure therapy to learn how to speak publicly. So I'm excited to keep going, and I'm excited for this to not feel as awkward as it does right now.
Hi.
Okay.
The question is what did I like about it? I really like the reassurance that everyone here is not judgmental. Usually like being a state like that because my work is definitely not that, and some of my employers have definitely not been that. And I like what you said about a lot of entertainers are shy as well. I think that's really true, and a lot of employers are just quiet and leaning to your skill set is really good advice. So I think that better.
Let's skip Susan.
So today's Toastmasters was actually really interesting. I enjoyed the table topic. Everyone had beautiful speeches. I also enjoyed the workshop. It was really insightful. I learned a lot. I have a lot of things at the back of my head now that I can apply when I need to do speeches. So in all, it was a good experience for me. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Bella.
Belma?
Bella.
Oh, Bella.
I was quite late, so I'm sure there was a great conversation to happen before I came here. Seems like everybody is super interested in what is happening around here when I came. So, since I came here, I learned quite a bunch from the conversation that was happening here about what's a great way to make up your speech. And I'm sure there's more to learn when I come here next time.
And, Isha?
So, this is my second time here. I'm definitely feeling a little bit more at ease than I did last time, so it does get better. And I'm looking forward to coming in again too. And I really enjoyed the workshop. One of the things I enjoyed the most, I think, was the part where you talked about connecting with the audience. And I think when I do give presentations or speeches, it's not necessarily something that I think of because I'm just trying to get out of there as quickly as I can. But this is definitely something that I'll keep in mind to slow down and to connect and make sure that people are really listening to what I'm saying.
Moxie?
This is my third time coming, and it's a really great group. The regular actual members, but also you see a lot of new faces, which is great. It just means that there's more exposure and stuff like that. I find it a very supportive group and interesting. I learn something every time that I come here, and I love exposure therapy. That was so on point. It kind of really does force you into an uncomfortable position, but in a safe environment. So it's a really good space.
I agree with what everyone said there today. It was really fun. It's my second time here, and I'm learning as I go to be more comfortable and confident when I speak. So, yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. This concludes our session, and members and guests, hope to see you May the 14th. All right? Thank you. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook and X.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What kind of art?
Hi.